What can you do as a client to help get the best outcome possible? This is Christina Williams with Just Criminal Law.
And David Mann, legal storytelling specialist. Well, in the cases that I've worked on, sometimes there might be a great case, but then the witness or some of the other witnesses, the defendant or the other witnesses, might actually make it not such a great case. So I'm sure you've worked with many. What makes someone a great witness or defendant?
Sure. So I had a case where a client came to me while on probation. He was on probation for a case that we had helped him with, and he came back and needed our help again. Now, this time around, he was facing a very serious crime. He was accused of a sexual assault, and this crime was alleged to have happened, like 6 months prior to him needing our help or being charged. And so when he came to our office, we already had a working relationship, and there was no other possibility other than taking this case to trial because of all the consequences that would go along with this type of conviction, and he wasn't eligible for any sort of deferred prosecution. So we prepared for trial right out of the gate, and he showed up at every meeting ready to participate, ready to cooperate, and prepared with what he was asked to bring. And so as we met probably half a dozen times before his testimony to really go over what happened that day, he always had a great attitude, and he always, came there to work. And so when it came time for a trial, we put him on the stand, and this kind of surprised the prosecutor, but he took the stand, and he was basically facing the accusation of his best friend, who was convicted of assaulting a girl, and everyone had been drinking and taking drugs, except my client. He hadn't taken any drugs that day, but the girl became very intoxicated, and the friend of his ended up having sex with her, and then it was later determined by law enforcement that because of the state of her intoxication or the state she was in when they had sex, that he needed to be charged with that assault. And so he had a public defender help him, the friend did, and he ended up pleading guilty and facing a prison sentence. Now, while he was waiting for the judge to sentence him, he, out of nowhere, accuses my client of attempting to assault the girl as well. And so the reason behind it was very transparent. He was mad at my client, his former friend, for speaking with law enforcement and telling them what happened. And so this was retribution, but it was also an attempt to try to get a better plea deal or a better sentencing recommendation from the prosecutor.
So now there's quite a bit of pressure at this point in the story on your client. And I'm sure that many people you've worked with sort of crumble or freak out at this point. And what did he do?
Well, even though he was young, he was only 20 years old, he really just bought into the process and trusted me. And, we prepared him for trial. He, did some things wrong here. He was drinking with an underage girl. And he, prior to her getting so intoxicated, the girl was kind of flirting with him and actually had kissed him. And both he and the girl told law enforcement this. But that's where it ended. And, it kind of it looked bad because then she became really intoxicated and didn't remember much. And the only other person that was there was his friend who said, he tried to do what I did. And so it really came down to us being able to have a strategy going into his testimony. And there's this saying that defense attorneys, say about their case, we always don't get the best set of circumstances, and you have to embrace the suck, we call it. And so in this particular case, it was not good that he was on probation. He was drinking. He admitted to kissing the girl, and then the friend was saying no, it went further than that. So it really came down to when he took the stand, the jury had to believe him. And so, he admitted everything he did wrong. He stayed consistent with his statement that he'd made to law enforcement. And when it came down to who the jury believed, they really believed that his friend had it out for him and that he was telling the truth. And even though he got in trouble because he was on probation and he admitted to drinking, he just had to be on probation longer as a consequence of his testimony. But he avoided that serious conviction, and, along with that conviction, he would have had to register as a sex offender, and, he would have been a convicted felon, and he would have lost all of his rights, including, his gun rights, his right to vote, his right to hold public office, and he'd have that stigma of being a convicted felon. But because, we were both prepared, and he really bought into the process, he helped himself, and, it was a big, big risk going to trial and a big risk putting him on the stand, but he really pulled through and he really shined, and, he gets a lot of credit for helping get that not guilty verdict as well.
Wow, that is a great story. I mean, a defendant does bear quite a bit of responsibility on, showing up and treating it, like you said earlier, as a job almost. It's a job they have to do. They should be invested in it. But I imagine you probably have some clients that view it as they're the victim and you're supposed to do everything for them.
Right, and that only puts a weight around us when we're trying to work with them to defend them. So if, we're constantly having to address that mentality and, pull them back up to our level to help us, then we're really taking away from the time where we could be preparing them to go to court. Instead, we're just trying to, get them in the mindset so that we can talk about their case and strategize. And so really, it is the client's decision. They have to decide to trust the process and really follow along with the expectations that we have of them. And if they do this, if they just buy in and trust the team that they hired, then they can get a better result.
That is great. So you lead quite a team. Someone that is watching this may want to bring you on to help them out. So how do they do that?
Sure, we'll include a link in the description where they can call, text, or chat with a member of my team anytime, day or night. Here at Just Criminal Law, we know you only get one shot at justice, so make yours count.